This is Adil Farooq, and you are watching Legal Lounge with Adil Farooq. And today's topic is about the family law, and that is very important topic in the family law, and that is relating to the marriage contracts. Interesting, because the marriage contract is a contract which usually executed between two spouses, and that can be done at the time of marriage, before marriage, or sometimes even after marriage. We usually give its different names. People come up with a different name with the different ideas about the marriage contracts. We also call this as a prenuptial agreement, or if a couple is common law relationship, we call this as a cohabitation agreement as well. So first of all, I will give you some input at what is the purpose of these kind of contracts. In the real world, it happens. It's very normal that when a couple getting married, so one of the spouses come up with big asset in the marriage, and sometimes a couple come the other couple is have no asset, and sometimes both of them have the equal assets. And if someone is coming into the marriage relationship with a good number of money or kind of assets, they may need a protection from their spouses to be. And if there is any breakdown of marriage, any divorce, or any breakdown of relationship separation, they want a protection for their assets which they brought into the marriage at the time of marriage. And this is one of the major reasons that the couple decided to go into a marriage contract or prenuptial contract. So in Ontario, we prepare and execute the marriage contracts under the Family Law Act. And the major reasons for to enter in the marriage contract, as I mentioned, is the protection of the asset. And again, another reason which we can add as the spousal support, that if the parties enter to this kind of agreement, they can waive their rights of spousal support in case of breakdown of marriage or divorce. And again, this can also protect each other from their debts. If one party have a debt, so if they have entered into the agreement, the other party will be protected from the debt of one of the parties. And in the real world nowadays, sometimes if they have kind of joint thing in the house, for example, they have any one of them have any pet and want to keep their pet, they can add that in this as well. Or if they have social media's accounts, which is very normal nowadays, they can protect each other protect each other against each other, actually, to comment badly on the social media, to protect each other privacy. These kind of stuff we can add as well if required by different spouses. So there are certain requirements of this kind of agreement. But before I go to the requirements, I will give you some real life examples that why and when different couple approach us to create a separation, prenuptial or marriage contract for them. As I mentioned initially, that if one of the spouses have a big number of assets in the marriage, so they will do the marriage contract. Or sometimes a couple got divorced, or one of the spouses passed away, and the surviving spouse or any other spouse who ended up their first marriage, before they enter into the second marriage, they want to enter into the marriage contract or prenuptial agreement. And again, the reasons are same, which I already mentioned initially in this session. And there are, as I mentioned, there are certain requirements of marriage contract. First of all, that contract should be in writing. You cannot rely, or you should not rely on the verbal commitments or verbal promises from each other before you enter into the marriage contract, claiming that, okay, I will not do that, I will do that, because the verbal thing stands nowhere in term for these kind of contracts. And whenever someone access our office, or they come to us to request us to make a marriage contract, we always request a full and frank financial disclosure at the time of that contract. When I say financial disclosure, what does it mean? It means that husband and wife, or the spouses to be, they should tell each other that on the date of marriage or on the date of signing this contract, what they have in their pocket as an asset and what kind of liabilities they have at the time of signing this contract. That's very important to disclose. Why? The reason of doing that is that if both of the spouses have the right to know the other spouse's financial situation, and if one of the spouses try to hide a big asset or big liability at the time of signing this contract, that may have a negative impact on the legality of these kind of contracts. So it is important to have all the disclosure, and we always add the details of that disclosure as part of the agreement. And so if in case of any dispute, they have a reference, okay, what the parties agreed and how they are doing that, how they are signing at the time of signing this agreement. So there are few other things which are not acceptable as part of the agreement, even though that part is coming from the family law. And one of the things relating to the children, if there are children of the couple, their rights cannot be compromised in these kind of agreements, because these agreements are protect the spouses each other. How can a spouse can decide about the right of the child in a contract where that child is not party of this contract? And of course, the child is a minor, he cannot be a part of that contract. And if somebody, if the spouses try to uh, restrict their rights, their children's right in that kind of contract, that clause can be declared as null and void if there's a dispute between the parties. And there is another right in the family law which is relating to the matrimonial home. The matrimonial home, each spouse has a right to have possession of a matrimonial home for a certain months after the date of separation or divorce, and that right cannot be compromised or cannot be dealt with in the prenuptial agreement or marriage contracts. So if somebody is trying to do that, it means they are violating the family law, and that clause can be declared as null and void. And whenever I refer as a clause, it means that the whole agreement will not fall just because of that one problem. Only that specific clause will be declared null and void, not the whole contract. And these are things we cannot do that. So while we prepare the marriage contract, we always suggest the spouses to discuss all those points which I just discussed here with you guys, and then come up with your ideas. Usually, I have my client, that both husband and wife are my client, and we have no problem drafting a complete marriage contract, after have a detailed input from both of them, and then we send them both of them to independent lawyers to get their ILA means independent legal advice on this agreement. If their lawyers, respective lawyers, decided or instructed their clients that they missed something or they should not do something, then it open up again the negotiations between the parties, and that agreement shall not be a legally binding agreement until or unless both spouses have their own independent lawyer who read that agreement for them and who gave them the input and on that agreement, and then only then they will that agreement considered as a legally binding agreement. And sometimes it is important to protect your inheritance from your spouses. And if you want to protect your inheritance from your spouses, yes, it is a good tool to do that. So your spouse have no right on your inheritance after your death, and your estate shall be divided as per your will, whatever will you have made during your life. And the other reason for doing this kind of agreements is to protect your own children's right after your death. See, what if you have a child, one or more children in your marriage, and your spouse passed away or you get divorced and the children are still alive, and if you get married, a second marriage actually, if you have a second marriage without this agreement, your second spouse shall be entitled for half of your estate in case of a divorce or in case of a separation process. And what will happen? The second spouse will take over the half asset, and eventually only your half of the assets will be transferred to your spouse, to your children. But your intention was always to have all of 100% of your assets to be transferred to your children after death. So keep in mind this thing as well. If you don't have this marriage contract, then that is not possible to transfer the full assets of your estate to your children after your death. There is another aspect which in a different which different businessmen considered when they are thinking about making a prenuptial or marriage contract. If you have a business and you don't want that in case of a breakdown of a relationship, your business should be affected. So if you want this one, you should have a marriage contract with your spouse, because if you don't have a marriage contract and there's a breakdown of marriage, your spouse shall be entitled half of your business. They don't care if you have to shut down your business and give your spouse half of the business, or if you take a loan or something, whatever thing, they just care about their share. And once your business become the part of your assets for a distribution purposes under the family law, unfortunately you may lose your business because you may or may not have enough funds to pay your spouse's share out of your business. So this is another other tool which usually people use in order to protect their business from their spouses. So this was a brief introduction of marriage contract, and I always give a disclaimer that this session is only for information purposes. You should not apply these things on your own circumstances. You need a complete and detailed advice from a legal representative who have the knowledge and expertise to draft these kind of agreements and to have good knowledge of the family law. But you can use those information for reference purposes, for creating your questions when you talk to them, when you ask them different things that may be helpful for you to ask the right questions to your lawyer. Because sometimes happens, if you go to your lawyer or your legal representative for that purpose, you may or may not ask them the right question. What does it mean? It means that you may miss something, even though your legal representative have the duty to cover all aspects of these kind of agreements, but things happens. And if you're well prepared before you go to your representative, your legal representative, you can always ask them right questions to get the right answer, and that is your right to know those things. In order to, if you have any kind of, if you have any question about the discussion, about the information I gave it to you, you can contact us at adil@adillaw.ca. It's our website, and our phone number is 905 502 7474. That's our phone number. And you can reach us by email as well at adil@adillaw.ca. Our website is an interactive kind of website. You can go on our website and you can book an appointment if you want, and we can discuss your specific situation according to your needs and circumstances, and we can always draft a legal document which can protect you against your spouse in case of breakdown of marriage and relationship. And just a very quick note. Nowadays, I saw the young individuals, young couple, they also considering these kind of steps before they enter into a marriage contract. So they will sign. They usually sign a full-fledged marriage contract just to protect each other if there is a breakdown of marriage between husband and wife. So there is this whatever discussion we have done, this is relating to, we are talking about the married couple. I use that word many times, but here in Canada we have another type of couples which are common law, which is legally allowed in Canada. When common law means when two individuals are living together without marriage, they are living together without marriage, they called common law couple. And in that case, for these kind of couples, we can also create a cohabitation agreement. You may have heard that contract as well. That is called cohabitation agreement. And the rules and regulations and the needs and the circumstances is almost the same. And that cohabitation agreement automatically convert into a marriage contract if that couple got married after living together for some time together as husband and wife. So if you guys have a question, you can always email us. As I mentioned, you can come up in our next session. You can ask us the live questions. We have always tried to answer the questions live, but remember, while doing the live question answer, we can answer to a very only to cover a very specific part as a general part. I cannot give you a legal advice like that in the public. So if you have any questions, you can always call our office and book an appointment. I believe you have some knowledge about the marriage contract. Again, thank you very much for joining me at Legal Lounge with Adil Farooq, and I will come back next Tuesday, same time at 1 p.m. with another interesting topic. We will try to make this session more interactive in the future if required, and if I have some input from you guys. and looking forward to see you and your friends in the next Tuesday. Take care. Thank you very much for joining. Bye bye.